Angela Bassett never expected to receive a deeply personal letter from Ibrahim Traoré. But as she read his heartfelt words live on camera, her reaction left everyone stunned. She went speechless, and then tears streamed down her face. Watch the emotional moment that touched millions of hearts and sparked an outpouring of admiration online. The studio lights glared softly as Angela Bassett smiled into the camera, ready for another segment of her inspirational talk show. Producers had told her there was a special surprise from Burkina Faso's transitional president, Ibrahim Traoré, someone she'd long admired for his courage and humanity. As the assistant handed her an envelope, the air shifted. It wasn't just any letter. It was handwritten with her name on the front in strong, steady penmanship. Angela looked at it, puzzled, then tore it open. She began to read the first lines. Aloud for the audience, her voice faltered. The room grew quiet as the words sank in. Her lips trembled as she read about a little boy in a dusty Burkina Faso village who once dreamed of making his people proud, and how watching her roles on screen gave him strength to keep going when the world seemed cruel. Her breath hitched. Angela froze, staring at the paper. Cameras zoomed in on her face just as a single tear fell. The crowd fell silent, sensing something big was coming. For the first time in her career, Angela Bassett was speechless, and everyone watching could feel their hearts tighten. Angela tried to compose herself as she continued to read, her voice now softer, raw with emotion. The letter painted a vivid picture of a barefoot boy named Ibrahim walking miles to school each day under the scorching sun. How he and his friends often studied by candlelight because the power in their neighborhood was unreliable. How he would run errands for his mother in the evenings, then sit quietly to watch American movies. And there she was, Angela Bassett, playing strong, fearless women who never gave up. She taught me, the letter read, that dignity is not given by position. It is earned by how you treat people. Angela covered her mouth as tears welled up. She wasn't just an actress to him. She was a beacon in his darkest hours. The cameras caught her whispering to herself, "Oh my God." And just as the audience thought the letter would end there, Angela turned the page and gasped. At the bottom, written in bold strokes, was a chilling line. "But there is something I need to tell you before. It's too late." The entire room froze. Angela gripped the letter, her hands trembling now. The words on the second page blurred as tears fell onto the paper. The next lines shocked her even more. "I have only 7 days before I must make a decision that could change my people's lives forever," Ibrahim wrote. "But before I do, I needed you to know the truth about me, about why I fight so hard." Angela looked up, eyes wet, heart pounding. The cameras caught her raw, vulnerable expression as she whispered to the audience. "He says he needs me to read this before the week is over." Gasps rippled through the crowd. What was so urgent? Why did he choose her? What was about to happen in 7 days? Angela wiped her cheeks, then glanced back down at the letter. It was more a story so deeply personal he trusted no one else in the world to hear it. And now millions of viewers were about to hear it too. Somewhere in Burkina Faso, Ibrahim sat quietly watching her reaction live on his screen. And for the first time in his presidency, his hands were shaking too. The cameras kept rolling, but Angela Bassett couldn't speak. She stared at the letter, her lips trembling as she tried to form words. Behind her composed, elegant presence, something was breaking, and everyone watching could feel it. The studio audience sat frozen. The only sound was Angela's quiet sniffle as she read the next line silently. "Angela, my people are suffering more than the world will ever know. Every decision I make in these next 7 days could save lives or cost them. I have no one else to confide in. No one else who understands what it feels like to carry the weight of a whole nation and still feel so alone." Angela's breath hitched. The idea of this young leader shouldering unimaginable pain while the world judged him struck her deeply. She finally whispered, "He says he prays every night for the wisdom to make the right choice and for forgiveness if he doesn't." By now, tears streamed freely down her cheeks. The audience began dabbing their own eyes, and somewhere far away, Ibrahim watched her reaction. His eyes heavy, his heart aching, yet hopeful that she would understand. Angela turned the next page, revealing a hand-drawn sketch of a single candle burning against a blackened sky. Her voice cracked as she read aloud. I drew this for you because you are the candle that shone into my storm when I was just a boy. I watched your movies in a little room with no lights, no running water. Yet you lit up my heart and told me through your strength that I could be more." The studio audience let out a collective gasp. Angela paused, overwhelmed. The simple sketch, the simplicity of his words, and yet the enormity of their meaning crushed her chest with emotion. She placed a hand over her heart and looked straight into the camera. For viewers at home, it was impossible not to feel the same raw connection. Burkina Faso's young president wasn't just a leader. He was still the little boy with a dream, clinging to hope in the dark. And now he was passing that hope to her and to millions watching. Angela glanced nervously at the clock in the studio. Time seemed to stand still. Her hands shook as she read the final paragraph on the page. "Angela, I only have 7 days to decide if I can stand firm under impossible pressure or give in to demands that would destroy everything we fought for. I cannot say much more here, but what you say tonight, what you feel, will give me the courage to face them." She lowered the letter, stunned. The camera zoomed in on her face as she whispered almost to herself, "He's asking me to help him. Hold on." Her shoulders shook as the gravity of his words sank in. Ibrahim Traoré, leader of a nation, was watching her at this very moment, hoping she would say something that could give him the strength to face the storm. The studio was silent, the air heavy with emotion. Angela finally looked straight at the camera, her eyes wet but steady. "Ibrahim," she said softly, "if you can hear me, I'm here, and you are not alone." At that moment, millions of viewers wept along with her and with him. Angela barely slept that night. She kept the letter on her nightstand, reading it over and over. She had ended her show by telling Ibrahim and the millions watching that he wasn't alone. But now she wondered if he even heard her words. She woke up before dawn and checked her phone. Nothing, no call, no message, not even a confirmation from his office. Why had he written her? Why now? She couldn't shake the last line of his letter from her mind. "If I don't make it through this week, please tell them I tried." Angela sat by her window, staring out at the quiet Los Angeles streets. Her fingers hovered over her phone as she debated calling someone, anyone, in Burkina Faso. She'd say that a man she'd never met poured his soul into a letter, and now she feared he was in danger. The weight of his silence was suffocating. She whispered to herself, "Don't you dare give up on me, Ibrahim, not yet." Outside, the morning sun began to rise, but her heart felt colder than ever. The next morning, Angela's producer called her early. "Turn on the news," he said, his voice grave. Her hands shook as she grabbed the remote and flipped to an international channel. On screen was Ibrahim Traoré standing before a sea of reporters. In Ouagadougou, his face was calm, but his eyes looked tired, even haunted. He announced that, within the next 48 hours, he would face unprecedented pressure from outside forces, demanding he compromise his nation's dignity. But he didn't say what those pressures were. All he said, looking straight into the camera, was, "To my people, and to someone watching far away, who knows who she is, I promise you this, I will not break." Angela's hand flew to her mouth as tears stung her eyes. He had heard her. Her producer called again. "Angela, social media is exploding. Everyone wants you to respond. Millions are watching him, and you." Angela's breath hitched as she whispered to herself, "I have to go live tonight." And deep down, she knew tonight's show could change everything. That evening, Angela stood backstage clutching her phone. She had typed a message to Ibrahim hours ago, but hadn't sent it. She'd rewritten it 10 times, but the words never felt enough. Now, as the countdown to live airtime began, her phone buzzed. It was a text from a foreign number. Her heart raced as she read the short, simple line, "Please don't stop believing in me now. I'm still fighting. I need you to keep them believing too." She pressed her phone to her chest and closed her eyes. The stage manager waved her out. Angela took a deep breath, wiped her tears, and walked into the spotlight. The studio lights felt even brighter tonight, but she didn't flinch. She sat down, faced the camera, and with her voice steady but her eyes shimmering, she spoke. "Night. I'm not just here as a host. I'm here as a witness to the heart of a man who refuses to let his people down, no matter what it costs him. Ibrahim, this is for you. Millions watching at home clutched their hearts and leaned closer to their screens. The story was far from over. The cameras rolled as Angela began her live broadcast. Her voice quivered, but her determination shone through. "This is not just news," she told her viewers. "This is a man's soul and a nation's hope hanging in the balance." She read aloud parts of Ibrahim's letter again. His struggles as a child, the sleepless nights as president, the crushing weight of trying to protect millions of lives with no guide but his own conscience. People in the studio audience began to weep openly. A young woman in the front row covered her face, sobbing. Angela paused, her own tears falling freely now. She looked directly into the camera and whispered, "Ibrahim, if you're watching this, we believe in you. Don't stop fighting. The world needs your light." Phones buzzed around the globe as the broadcast went viral. On social media, hashtags like "Stand with Ibrahim" and "We Believe in You" trended instantly. And somewhere, in a quiet room in Ugadu, Ibrahim sat in the dark watching her, his hands clasped, his heart breaking and healing at the same time. For the first time in days, he allowed himself a faint, grateful smile. That night, Angela couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the moment she saw Ibrahim's faint smile on the news feed after her broadcast. It was subtle, but it was enough. She closed her eyes and whispered a quiet prayer. "God, keep him strong. Don't let him feel alone. Don't let him give up." What she didn't know was that across the ocean in Burkina Faso, an elderly woman knelt in a small church, whispering almost the same words at the exact same moment. "Ibrahim is a good boy," the woman said softly. "Don't let the world crush him before his work is done." The next morning, Angela woke to a message from Ibrahim. It was just one line. "I feel your prayers tonight. Please don't stop." Angela clutched her phone to her chest, tears streaming down. At that moment, it wasn't just about politics or fame anymore. It was about one human being fighting for his people and another human being thousands of miles away holding him up with nothing but words, faith, and hope. 2 days before his decision deadline, Ibrahim faced the hardest meeting of his life. Powerful foreign officials sat in front of him, their tone firm and cold. They wanted him to accept terms that would strip his country of its resources and humiliate his people in exchange for peace. He stared at the papers in silence. One of them leaned closer. "Think carefully, Mr. President. The world is watching. Don't make this harder than it has to be." In that moment, he thought of Angela's words, her tear-streaked face on his screen, her promise that he wasn't alone. He stood up slowly, his hands steady now. He looked each official in the eye and said, calmly but with fire in his voice, "I have thought carefully, and I will not betray my people." The room erupted in anger, but Ibrahim didn't flinch. Somewhere he knew Angela was watching. Somewhere he knew millions of others now believed in him too. And as he walked out of the room, he whispered to himself, "I am not alone." The night after rejecting the foreign officials' demands, Ibrahim stood by the window of his office. Outside, a storm raged over Ouagadougou, thunder shaking the sky, lightning slicing through the dark. He thought of his people sleeping in their modest homes, trusting him to protect them. He thought of Angela's trembling voice on live television, and the millions of strangers sending him messages of faith and love. But deep down, he feared the consequences of his choice. The threats he'd received were real. They could hurt his people in ways he couldn't even imagine yet. His phone buzzed. A message from Angela. "We're still watching, we're still praying, and we're still with you no matter what." He swallowed hard, tears filling his eyes for the first time all week. The storm outside roared louder, but for the first time he didn't flinch because now he wasn't fighting alone. That morning, Ibrahim's assistant rushed into his office, holding a large envelope. "These just arrived, sir, from America, from children." He opened the envelope and found dozens of small letters and colorful drawings. One letter read, "Dear Mr. President, you're very brave. Don't let the bad guys win. We believe in you. Love, Mia, age 8. Another had a stick figure drawing of him standing on a hill holding his country's flag. Above it in crayon were the words, "You are our hero." Ibrahim's hands trembled as he held the letters. He imagined those little hands writing those words. He imagined the hope in their innocent hearts. He placed the letters neatly on his desk and whispered to himself, "I won't let them down. Not them, not anyone." That evening, when his advisors tried again to push him to compromise, he stood taller than ever, and this time his voice didn't shake when he said no. Angela's next show opened with a surprise. She played clips of children, families, and even elderly strangers from around the world holding signs that said, "We stand with Ibrahim." Tears glistened in her eyes as she spoke. "Tonight, we show the power of one heart inspiring millions." This man stood firm for his people, and tonight the world stands firm for him. On social media, over 50 million people had already posted their support. "We believe in you" and "Burkina Strong" trended in over 30 countries. Angela read a few comments aloud, her voice breaking. "He's what a real leader looks like. Even here in New York, we're praying for you, Ibrahim. Stay strong, brother. You inspire us all." In Burkina Faso, Ibrahim watched the broadcast in silence. His advisors stood behind him, stunned at the outpouring of love. And then he finally spoke. "They believe in me," he said softly. "Now, it's time to show them why." His eyes burned with determination as he prepared for the final 2 days of his hardest week yet. It was the last night before the deadline. Ibrahim sat alone in his office, long after midnight. Papers, reports, and unsigned agreements lay scattered on his desk. Outside, the city was quiet as though holding its breath with him. He replayed the faces of his people in his mind. The farmers who shook his hand last week, the young soldier who saluted him with pride, the barefoot children who waved at his motorcade, and he thought of Angela, her tear-streaked face on his phone screen, whispering, "We believe in you." His phone buzzed. A short message lit up his screen. "No matter what happens tomorrow, you've already won the hearts of millions. Be strong, Ibrahim. A." He smiled faintly and typed back just 2 words. "Thank you." That night, he fell asleep at his desk, the weight of the nation on his shoulders. But this time, his heart was lighter. The sun rose over Ouagadougou, the press conference was set. Cameras from around the world were trained on the stage. Ibrahim walked in slowly, but his eyes shone with quiet determination. The room fell silent as he approached the podium. He took a deep breath and spoke. "I have been given many reasons to give up, many offers to betray what I believe in, but I will not dishonor the sacrifices of my people. I will not sell our dignity. Not for anything in this world." Gasps rippled through the room. Reporters scribbled furiously. "I know this path is not easy," he continued, his voice steady, "but I'd rather walk it with a clean heart than live a lifetime of regret. I choose my people. I choose hope." Somewhere in Los Angeles, Angela watched live. She clutched her chest as tears spilled down her cheeks. And across the world, millions of strangers wept with her, their admiration for this young leader rising higher than ever before. The next evening, Angela's show aired a special segment. Clips of Ibrahim's powerful speech played, intercut with reactions from children, elders, and even world leaders applauding his courage. Angela sat before the camera, her voice soft but firm. This is what real leadership looks like. Not power for its own sake, but service to others. A young man stood alone, but he stood tall and inspired millions. On social media, people shared their own messages to Ibrahim. "You made us believe again. The world needs more leaders like you. Thank you for teaching us what strength really is." Angela wiped her tears, smiling at last. "Ibrahim, wherever you are tonight, you have shown us all that one heart can light 1,000 candles. We are proud to stand with you." And as the credits rolled, her final words echoed. Viewers, if this story touched your heart tonight, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below telling Ibrahim how he inspired you. Let's show him that even from across the world, we are all with him always. Millions did just that, flooding the comments, their tears, and their words. A testament to one unforgettable week that changed everything. Thank you for following this story to the end. If it moved you, don't forget, like this video now. Subscribe to my channel for more stories that touch the soul. And comment below what part of Ibrahim's story made you cry the most. Your words might inspire someone else.